Hello, this is Murray Carter again for some Q&A, part 4. Today we're going to tackle some personal questions. Question number 1. For a new knife maker, how can I figure out what to sell my knives for? This is really the million-dollar question. First of all, as a new knife maker, you really ought to be focusing on function versus form. With repetition, hopefully your knives will get prettier and prettier and more aesthetically pleasing, but do not compromise metallurgy. Get the hardest blades you can, get them as straight as possible, get them as thin as possible, so that people will be pleased with the cutting performance of your knives. Initially, you need to get a bunch of knives into people's hands, even if you kind of have to give them away to family and friends. Eventually, start charging $100, $200 for your knives, depending on how much time you put in. But what you really need initially for those first 20 or 30 knives is you need feedback from people who are actually using your knives. So in order to improve, you need the feedback. Get a bunch of kitchen knives or everyday carry neck knives or smaller personal knives into people's hands. Once you start getting their feedback, and as you go from first batch of 10 knives to your second batch of 10 knives and your third batch of 10 knives, you will improve. Your aesthetics will improve, your metallurgy will improve, and then you can start charging more money for your knives. But you can charge $800 for your first knife, but if it stays on your shelf forever and it never ever sells, what good is that? It's A, it doesn't put money in your pocket, and B, it doesn't put it in the hands of someone who will use it, who will give you what? The most important thing, not money, but feedback. So there you have it. Okay, what are your everyday carry essentials? And what are your employees' everyday carry essentials? Well, I'm happy to say we all carry neck knives. In fact, I'm carrying a neck knife that one of my other apprentices made, kind of to do some R&D with it, and I'm most pleased. The metallurgy is excellent in his knife. It's a Seamus's knife, by the way. Of course, some other things that I carry a Fisher Space Pen in my pocket, and I carry a really small flashlight that takes a CR123 battery. It puts out like 80 lumens. And obviously my wallet, I got all my credit cards, I got some spare cash. Then I carry my cell phone, and then depending on where I'm going, I might put some other stuff in my pockets. Okay, how do you stay passionate about your work after all these years? That's a great question because I've made over 23,000 knives, and staying passionate can be challenging because everyone can burn out by doing the same job over and over and over again. If you look on YouTube and you look up the making of the Aviator knife, I think you'll get a feel for kind of what I value as being inspirational about the work I do. Basically, it boils down to trying to tackle new projects and always try to improve your product metallurgically, always try to do things innovative with new materials and so on. It's kind of tough because there's only so much innovation that you can do in kitchen knives and neck knives, because what works has worked for decades, even centuries, and they're shape-wise and blade geometry-wise, there isn't a whole lot that you can fiddle-faddle with. But that being said, you can always make your next batch of knives better than your last batch, and you can always look forward to really satisfied customers and getting their feedback and hearing their emails and hearing how some gal loves cooking now, even though she hated it before, because she's got the right tools for the job. Like, that can really inspire you. Okay, what goals do you have for future projects? Okay, I'm going to share my, my long-term vision with you guys. Currently, we're actually saving aggressively to purchase our own industrial building. We currently lease this space, and we've outgrown it, and we need about 3 or 4 times the actual floor area space for us to grow the way we want to. And that means 3 or 4 more power hammers from Japan, probably 10 or 15 more grinders, new workstations, rooms just for teaching classes, staff room, heat treating room that's just all blocked out just for heat treating blades and so on. So that's what we're working for now. But even that, I think, is going to be a stepping stone, because ultimately our vision as a company is to have maybe 30 or 40 apprentice bladesmiths. maybe 50 employees altogether, and reaching around the world with our high-quality hand-forged knife products, and our own 10 to 20,000 square foot industrial building that's got a helipad on the top. And when Forbes magazine sends a newspaper person, a reporter out to interview us on why we're so successful as a bladesmithing company, I'm going to personally fly to PDX and pick up that reporter and fly him back and land right on the roof of our building, and then bring him down for a cup of tea and let him interview me and the boys and gals. So that's kind of our future vision. It's aim for the stars, right? If I land on the moon, so be it. But that's also one of the things that makes me passionate is, this is, the land of the American dream, and you got to dream big and do your best and try to achieve everything that you can possibly achieve. What have you not done in the cutlery world yet that you want to tackle? That's an easy one, folding knives. So in the future, I'd like to have a subdivision of Carter Cutlery manned by a couple of guys or gals who are really passionate about folding knives, and let them design them and have all the machinery necessary, and then also have a folding knife division of Carter Cutlery. That's all part of that helipad, new building, dream, etc. And last two questions. One is, why did you specifically choose the neck knife format to specialize in? And the second is, when did you slide into kitchen knives, and also why? So I actually started with kitchen knives because I apprenticed to a kitchen knife bladesmith. And then I got into neck knives because I was also interested in outdoor knives, Bowie knives and combat knives, because they are all the glitter and eye-catching appeal in the cutlery world. But I'll tell you really something interesting, and why Carter Cutlery is especially well-positioned in the cutlery industry, specifically because we do make both kitchen knives and neck knives. Okay, so here's the formula. Neck knives sell predominantly by reputation. Like 90% of your kitchen knife sales are because someone heard that your kitchen knives cut real well, sharpen real easily, hold their edge fantastically, and are ergonomically superior to other knives out there. So, reputation. Even so much that if somebody was coming down from Seattle, their friend might say, "Oh, you're going to Carter Cutlery? Hey, pick me up like a 6-inch chef's knife, will you?" And the friend might say, "What, you don't need to see it first?" And the guy says, "Oh, no, I know if it's a Carter Cutlery 6-inch kitchen knife, it'll be great. Just buy it for me." See, 90% based just on reputation alone. But outdoor knives, the FS1 fighting knives, or our White Crane personal protection knives, or neck knives, or any of our unique pieces, 90% customers are basing their purchase decision on aesthetics. They've got to look at the knife. It has to appeal to their senses. And a 1/4 millimeter here and a 1/4 millimeter there can totally change the shape, the nuance, the overall appeal of the knife. In fact, if I made 10 of the same knife and went to a knife show, and they all were the same model and with the same handle material, would you believe that most customers would come by the table and pick up the same knife first every time? It's just subconscious. When a knife is perfectly executed, it speaks to the subconscious of the customer, and they just automatically reach for it, even if 10 knives otherwise look the same. There's one that's going to be distinguished. So that's the importance of aesthetics in knives. So now we come full circle, we put it all together. I focus on kitchen knives. I get them into the hands of customers. They give me the feedback. I find out if it's too heavy, too light, if it's too soft, if it's too hard, if it's difficult to sharpen, if it's easy to sharpen, if the blade geometry is good or not, if the ergonomics are good or not, how it balances, how it feels in the hand, how they like it after using it for 2 years or 1 week or whatever. I get the feedback metallurgically, and I immediately let that guide my development and improvement as a bladesmith. Then I can take what I've learned metallurgically and incorporate that into my outdoor knives and my neck knives. Conversely, I make neck knives batch after batch after batch, and some sell right away and some not so quickly. We observe which ones are selling right away and what it was that people really liked about that knife. We make a pattern of that knife. We try to reproduce it, and we try to learn the importance of a millimeter here and a millimeter there, quarter of a millimeter, a molecule here and a molecule there, aesthetically. And then once the knives start selling really well, then we can incorporate the neck knife aesthetics into the kitchen knives. So we come at it from both directions, which is why it's so strong. So any of you guys watching this, if you're going to get into bladesmithing, I can't recommend it stronger for you to start with kitchen knives. Learn and master the metallurgy. Get those knives in the hands of customers, even if you got to give them away. Because every good quality knife that you get out there is continuous advertising for you. Forget about the advertisements in the magazines or so on. Your best advertisement is by getting good quality metallurgical knives in the hands of customers. Master the metallurgy, aesthetics will come later, but you got to pay attention to the aesthetics as well. Okay, this is Murray Carter with Carter Cutlery saying stay tuned for part 5 of Q&A.